Blog Talk Radio.
He is the last of his kind. All that remains of a once powerful nation. Some think he is a myth. Some believe he is the chosen one, who will bring balance to a world at war. And some will stop at nothing to destroy him.
Okay, welcome everybody to Morris Talk Live 100. I'm your host, Tarhaka Amana El Bay. And tonight, my special guest will be Dr. Walter Williams, and we'll be discussing who is this man called God and where is God? We're going to be dealing with that tonight and the following questions. Where was God when the COVID-19 hit? And where's God anyway? Where was God when George Floyd was murdered? What side of town does God live on? When did God say we should put a face mask on? When did he say we're supposed to do that? When did God tell us to forget about the murder of Emmett Till? When? Now, I have yet to look at the video of the man that was murdered in Minnesota, George Floyd. I haven't seen the video yet. For one thing, I don't watch TV. However, I did hear the audio of what took place, and this thing is really gotten out of hand. I mean, they fighting all over the country, destroying businesses and burning up police precincts and all kind of stuff going on. It's really, really a sad situation in my opinion. And we've discussed this kind of thing before in previous broadcasts. And the solution to the problem has already been given to you. All you got to do is go back and listen to some of my previous broadcasts, and you'll see that. But nevertheless, I got commercials to do. I'm going to go through these commercials, and when we come back, hopefully my guests will be in here, and then we can go on into
Hey, everybody, this is Tarhaka again. I would like to introduce you to the Great Debate. We now have copies of the Great Debate. Dr. Walter Williams debates Prince Ezio ben Israel of the Hebrew Israelites. Also, Reverend Henry Hardy of one of the most prominent churches in Chicago, Illinois. Chester Blair, a major attorney in Chicago. And Munir Muhammad of the Nation of Islam. The whole thing is hosted by W.L. Lillard. Dr. Walter Williams debate these men on their belief versus what he knows for a fact and he can prove. Get your copy by going to www.tarhakadebtelimination.org. That's tarhakadebtelimination.org, or you can go to newdataelimination.com. newdataelimination.com. Contact me for your copy. Okay? The Great Debate. You got any questions, just give me a shout. Peace. Okay, everybody. The first day of spring is on March 19th. Let's strengthen our immune systems. We got the coronavirus thing going around. Our new debtelimination.org site is available. newdebtelimination.org. We got your moringa powder. It's ready. We got your 8-ounce sealed organic moringa powder by the jar, and it's going by the case. We also got your 10-ounce jars sealed organic moringa powder right there. newdebtelimination.org. That's newdebtelimination.org. Get your fresh moringa powder so that you can strengthen your immune system. Sprinkle a little bit on your food, or if you want to make you a smoothie on your drinks or your salad, however you want to do it, go get your moringa powder at newdebtelimination.org and go ahead and strengthen your immune system. Okay? Fight these viruses and things. Tarhaka here. We have our secure party and creditor package. Go to www.newdebtelimination.com. That's newdebtelimination.com. Get yourself free. Learn how to be a secured party. Learn how to be a creditor. Learn how to establish your trust. newdebtelimination.com.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. I see we have a caller with his hand raised at area code 813 and open up the phone line. Area code 813, you're on the air. 813?
Hello.
Hey, man.
Hey, how's it
Give me who you are, where you calling from? What's your question, man?
Yeah, my name is Oscar. I'm calling from Tampa, Florida. Walter Williams told me to call in, so I did. If you remember, I was asking him about the timelines and stuff. Remember me?
Mm-hmm.
A couple months back, I called in and asked him Walter about timelines and how these Europeans come up with these biblical dates and this date and this happened in 70 AD and all these other dates that they have. So I called. He called me out that following week, but I didn't know he was going to be on because he just did back to back to back. So I missed a couple shows live, but I did go back and listen to him. But I'm just here, and I'm in Tampa, Florida. They rioted like crazy last night. I was at the protest. Yeah, I was at the protest at like 5 or 6. Well, no, I left the protest at around 6. It started at 2. I left around 6, and then that was when really it just started going. But I had to work, so I left when it was just picking up. And when I went home, man, they tore. They were like they were riot. They did like 20 different riots, man, all across Tampa.
Wow.
Whether it was the University Mall, Walmart got hit, they hit about 4 or 5 different pawn stores in the Tampa Bay area. It got really crazy last night. So I just went to the store at 5. It was 5 o'clock when I got to the store, and they closed down. They said we're closing before it gets dark.
Wow. Okay, well, brother, Dr. Williams is on. I want you to hold on because we're going to bring you back on so you can ask Dr. Williams the questions that you want to ask him, okay?
Hey, I'll be patient. No matter how long it takes, half an hour, 45 minutes, however long it takes. I know he's going to do his build, and then I'll come in when you're ready.
Okay, partner. All right.
All right.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to area code 773. Dr. Walter Williams, are you with us?
Yes, Brother Tarhaka, I'm here. Can you hear me?
All right, fantastic. Yes, sir. I hear you loud and clear. And switchboard is lit up over here, and we got quite a few new people. And the young man that you was asking about, he just called in, and he said he's going to hold because he want to talk to you. And but tonight, if you want to give all the new listening people a brief background on yourself and all this stuff before we go down to the subject about who is this man called God and where is God. That's a nice title. And so you have the floor.
Okay, well, my name is Walter Williams, and I am a special guest on Brother Tarhaka's radio show the last Sunday of every month. I've been doing this for going on 5 years, and I am the author of 2 books that are out in the arena of books today. And they are The Historical Origin of Christianity, which has been out for 27 years. And the thesis of that book is saying that there's never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form or been a race, creed, or color by the name of Jesus Christ. So that book has been out selling all over America, all in the UK, all in the Caribbean, and all in Australia, and all in other English-speaking countries. Now, my second book has been out for 17 years, and it's called The Historical Origin of Islam. It's selling in the same places where my Christianity book is selling. So I am very proud of those 2 books because in those 2 books I'm carrying information that our African community in America and throughout the world is in vital need of to know this information that's in these 2 books. So that's part of what I've been doing for the last 45 years, that I've been out here in the African world, in the world, communicating with and trying to bring our African community up to the realization of who they are, and to bring them into the knowledge of who they are, and into the knowledge of what has happened to our African ancient Egyptian ancestors after the Greeks came into Egypt. So that's who I am, without going any further into it. And the young man, is he still on the line?
Yes, he's still on the line. You want me to bring him in?
Yes, please.
Okay. Area code 813. Dr. Walter Williams want to talk to you. You there, brother? Area code 813. Okay. I'm gonna come back. He probably stepped off for a second, and I'll bring him in. But we got a couple of more callers on the line at area code 704. I'm gonna open up this line here. 704 area code. Tell us who you are, where you're calling from, what's your question or comment?
Once I came into the knowledge that we were the descendants of the ancient Africans.
Can hardly hear you.
And I met.
Hello?
My name is David Curry, and I'm calling from Charlotte, North Carolina. And I bring greetings to you, Brother Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see if I can is that better? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I hear you pretty good now.
Hey, Brother Tarhaka, how you doing?
I'm fine, man. How about you?
There's something in his background is
you gotta.
Let me turn my radio down. Let me.
Yeah, cut it all the way off. Cut it all the way down.
All right, there we go. Well, first and foremost, I just want to give greetings to you, Brother Tarhaka, and thank you for offering up this platform for us to call in and to comment and to hear Dr. Williams and the truth that he brings to our community. And since I've been following Dr. Williams, I've read both books. I've watched all the videos on YouTube, and I just want to tell you, Dr. Williams, that you have awoken me and given me the pride in myself as well as my African people to spread your knowledge and your truth to everybody that I come in contact with. And I just want to say thank you before I say my statement. Is that fine?
I think that's great, and that makes me feel very humble that my message is getting out into the African community and is touching somebody and is teaching somebody and is causing our African community, the people in that African community, to evolve instead of revolving. So your words are very humbling to me. Thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you, Dr. Williams, for just, spending, the large majority of your life spreading truth, and through your scholarship and through your knowledge, it has made me, not only myself, a greater person, but my children, my wife, and everybody that I come in contact with, because, I was a little skeptical of your information at first, but what I did is I went like you break it down in your lectures, you go event by event with times, dates, peoples, and places, and all of the information is definitely researchable and verifiable. I have talked to people who have been through seminary and go to ecclesiastic school, and I take them to task and I charge them. They know that there's never been a man to walk this earth in human form by any race, creed, or color by the name of Jesus Christ, and they are out here shamming our people. They are bringing untruth and lies to our people to keep us in the dark and to keep us subjugated. And I had it's not a debate when you're talking truth. Just like you always say, facts are stronger than argument, more dependable than opinion. Silences disputes, supersedes prediction, and facts always end the argument. I live by those words, Dr. Williams, and at the end of the day, when I have truth discussions with these people, all they can tell me is that's not what they believe. But a belief, the definition of belief is hope in things unseen. I don't believe in anything. I know in myself. I know in my culture, and I know in ancient Egypt. And I'm proud to say today that I am a direct descendant of the greatest people who have ever walked the face of this earth, known today as the ancient African Egyptians.
Wow. You know what, my brother? Right at this very moment, after hearing your words that you just got through speaking, tears is running down from my eyes down my cheek.
Oh, man.
Tell me, it's very, very inspiring from those words, because that's exactly what I've been doing for the last 45 years, to get that message to our African people in the African community in America and throughout the world, but mostly in America. So
right.
What you have done for me, you have really made my day, and you have given me words of encouragement to continue on, to bring truth and to bring light into the minds and the spirit of our people in the African community in America and throughout the world. So thank you so much, my brother. Thank you.
No problem, Dr. Williams. It is my absolute pleasure, and I really can't believe that I'm talking to you right now, because it's been one of my bucket list dreams just to talk to you and to interact with you, because we live in a world today that is filled with lies and confusions and distractions. And what we have to realize right now, and you say this all the time, and I echo this when I talk with people, we right now are the greatest people that live on the earth right now, because, as you say, the whole world is following us. When we turn right, the world turns right. When we turn our hats backwards, they do it. When we make music, they try to imitate it. But like you say, they cannot capture that true essence of life that we have dwelling inside of us. It brings me back to when I first started following and studying your teachings. It was on a video on YouTube, and you were telling the story of when you went to Egypt and you were greeted on the plane by the Nubians, and they said, "Americans, Americans, I am Nubian, and you are my Nubian cousins." And you said, no, I am an ancient African Egyptian, and you are my ancient African Egyptian cousins. And they were like, no, I am Nubian. I had a very, very similar experience. After I had come into the knowledge of your teachings, I was speaking with my brother, and I had told him about you, your teachings, and I went blow for blow, telling him the timeline, the people, the places, and events which led to the creation of Christianity and Western culture as we knew it. And I told my brother, with all of the evidence that I presented, that we are the descendants of the greatest people who ever walked this earth, known today as the ancient African Egyptians. And he said, no, no, I am black, I'm African American. And at that very moment, I knew that my brother and the Nubians was one and the same. They had both been taught away from their true heritage of being an ancient African Egyptian. And from that moment there, I made it my business in my life to teach my children and everybody who would listen the truth about Christianity and who we truly are.
Oh, wow, that's very, again, that's very inspiring words that you just got through speaking. Let me ask you this, my brother, did you listen to the March 29th lecture that I gave on the history of Christianity?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir. You better know. I listen to you every time you on, sir.
Okay, well then what you can do is keep listening to that, or either, download, make copies of it, then you can have it in your possession where you can hear it at any time that you want to, and then you can tell others to tune into that broadcast over Tarhaka's radio show, and then they can themselves listen to it and have it in their possession like you have it in your possession that you're listening to. So that is something that will bring some type of clarity to the subject of the history and origin of Christianity, the true history and origin of Christianity. So that's, man, you have really, really made my day. Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you.
I love you so much, Dr. Williams. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your kind words and your encouragement that you gave me. I love you, Dr. Williams. I listen to you constantly. I bring much love to you too, Brother Tarhaka, and to your beautiful wife, Sister Professor Arnetta Williams.
Oh, man, I'm going to tell her that. I'm going to tell her exactly what you said. And my brother, again, thank you so much, and I love you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I love you too, Doctor.
Thank you.
All right. May I hold
I love you too, Brother Tarhaka. Keep it going. Keep the power and keep the faith, brother.
We're going to keep rolling, man.
All righty, brother. Thank you so much.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
Okay. We going down. We got another caller with his hand raised, Dr. Williams, area code 646. So I'm going to open up the phone line and see who we got in here before we get on down into the broadcast. Area code 646, you on the air. Are you there, 646? Okay, they probably stepped out. Let me go back up here to this brother up to the top again and see if he come back. Area code 813, you are on the air. Area code 813. You there, brother?
May I hotep Tarhaka again, and may I hotep to you, Walter Williams. This is Askia. I'm the brother that called in a couple months back that you requested me to call back and to so that we could further discuss the timelines of the this whole biblical and Western academia pseudo history.
Okay, and I think you asked me a question that wasn't clear to me. I didn't get to a clear, good understanding, and I want to get that understanding from you so I can answer the question correctly as I can. Do you remember what you asked me that I,
Of course. How can I forget? The question was simply when you research, let's just say if you were to research Muhammad, they'll tell you that Muhammad was born in 623 or died in 632, whatever the date is. I was asking you, of course, I personally don't believe in these dates or these characters or that the temple or that there was some type of exile in 70 AD or, all these dates or 33 AD, these dates that they use. I was just asking you personally, where are they getting these dates? Are they like numerology dates? Are they dealing with astrology, like horoscopes? I was just kind of wondering if you had any insights on how these biblical writers, the Bible's writers, whoever you believe that they are, Moses, Maimons, or whoever you believe these writers are, and in Western academia, in the 19th and 20th century when they created the pseudo-history to match their mythology, where do you think they are developing these dates? And, that was the question.
Okay, now you mentioned the word mythology. All religions are based off of mythology, okay? Religions are not based off of human history. Okay, there's no human history in any religion because all religions are man-made. So therefore, man created these various religions. Now, that is done to control the thinking of man and the thinking and the actions of himself. So therefore, these two things, religions are created to control the thinking and the actions of humanity or man. And that's what they are there for. Now, these religions, when you go into them and you find characters that they list in these various religions, they are created by incarnated names. The word incarnate means to take a name and write through that. You take a name by incarnating a birth date, a death date. You can create through incarnation of a name, a mother, a father, children. You can assign anything that you want to assign to that name, that incarnated name. And once you do that, and then you can attach it to the religion, you see. So they tell you, for instance, in Islam, they tell you that Muhammad was born in 570 A.D., that he died and was buried in Medina in 632 A.D. He was born 570 A.D. in Mecca, okay? So when you investigate, like I have done and written in my books, Historical Origin of Islam, in 570 A.D., there was no Mecca. I got that in my Historical Origin of Islam book. So, and then as you investigate further about this Muhammad that they claim that is attached to today's Islam, because you got two Islams out here. You got Mohammedanism, as I write in my book, Historical Origin of Islam, and you got today's Islam coming from the creation of the Quran. Two different Islam, two different timelines, two different theologies that's attached to each one of these Islams. And you take today's Islam created from the Quran, parallels the Islam of Mohammedanism. You see? Now, let's get back. So what they have done, they have created by way of incarnating the name Muhammad. And they have created like I said, a birth date and a death date. Now, when you go and look and research a little further, you go into and get you a book called the Shorter Encyclopedia of Islam. It's out there. You got to go to your library, or look it up in the old bookstores, or get online and see if you can find one. But they may be hard to find. But anyway, you go to page 390 in the Shorter Encyclopedia of Islam, and you come up to Muhammad, and in that section where you talk about Muhammad, they said that they have no biography for a Muhammad. That's number one, no biography for a Muhammad. And on that same page 390, you go down a little further from that section and article on that same page. You'll find them saying they have no data, no historical data of a Muhammad living in Mecca. So if you have no data of a Muhammad living in Mecca, then you have no foundation for a Muhammad. Those two things, biography, and he has to be born in Mecca in order to have a Muhammad. So you don't have that creation of a Muhammad there. Okay, now you go a little further. Then it says in 570, in 622, Muhammad fled Mecca. Okay, and out of the flight of Mecca, he met a angel by the name of Gabriel, and the angel Gabriel taught Muhammad everything that God wanted Muhammad to pass on to mankind. So therefore, Muhammad was illiterate. So therefore, he memorized everything through mnemonics, and he dictated by way of memory what the angel Gabriel told him that God wanted him to pass on to mankind to ascribe, thus creating the Bible. Thus creating the Quran. Now, that was supposed to be in 622. Now, if you go and find a Quran today, in the Quran, interspersed in today's Quran, you will find Jewish writings, and you will also find Christian writings interspersed inside of today's Quran. So now, you'll find also, by further investigating, that in 622, there was no Judaism. There was no Jewish writings. And you'll find also in 622 AD, as they use the term, you'll find Christianity was on this planet we call Earth, but no Christian literature. See? But in today's Quran, you find interspersed a body of Jewish literature and a body of Christian literature. So therefore, you have to really go and enter these various religions, and you have to stay on the outside. When you don't ever walk into the Bible thinking that you're going to learn something, you're not going to learn anything. They got everything all fixed up for you. All you have to do is believe. See, all religions are based off of one's belief. See, belief is the glue that keeps all religions together. So don't fall for the trap by ever opening up the Bible, going inside of that Bible, thinking that you're going to learn something. No, you're not going to learn anything. And then
I understand.
You can understand that? Okay. Because now...
Walter, I totally agree. I told you last time I'm a secular atheist, so I read both your books. I teach your stuff to people. I have educated dozens of people on your information, so we see eye to eye. Okay, but I don't want to keep wasting your time. Can I ask a couple more questions?
Sure.
Okay, so I did want to just touch on a brother that called in last week. He asked you about something called gematria, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. And I just wanted to let you know. I just want to teach you something, Walter Williams, because you have taught me so much. I just want to let you know this one thing: that man, Moses Maimonides, he loved numbers and numerology. That was one thing that he was into. But moving forward. Do you believe that Mansa Musa was a real person, especially when they said that he took a Hajj to Mecca? And of course, I've read your book, The Historical Origin of Islam. So, do you believe that Mansa Musa was a real person, and did he take a Hajj to Mecca? Considering you don't believe that Islam started until 1870s.
Okay, what year are you talking about? Mansa Musa supposed to have lived?
That was like the 15th century.
Okay, and Mansa Musa is attached to the University of Timbuktu. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. Yeah, but they're saying that he lived. Mansa Musa I lived 1280 to 1337. So yeah, 14th century. They're saying that. Let me see really quickly. I'm looking him up. Let me see if he's connected to that university. And it looks like yes, they're basically saying that he embarked on a large building program, raising mosques and madrasas in Timbuktu and Gao.
You're breaking up on me again. What's that last statement you made?
Sorry. Okay, this is what Wikipedia is saying about him. It's saying that Mansa Musa embarked on a large building program, raising mosques and madrasas in Timbuktu and Gao. most notably the Ancient Center of Learning, Sankore Madrasa, or the University of Sankore, or the University of Timbuktu. So yes, sir.
Okay, so do I think that was the Master Musa? No. Okay, nor was there a University of Timbuktu. Now, I'm going to tell you this. What they're calling the University of Timbuktu, you got to go back in history when, during the time of the Spanish Inquisition. Are you familiar with that?
Of course. I've heard every lecture you've ever done, Walter.
Okay. So you got to go back to the Spanish Inquisition that was created by Ferdinand and Isabella in 1478. And that Inquisition included the Roman Inquisition together, meaning that when they say the Roman Inquisition, they're talking about the Roman Catholic Church, who had allied with Spain at that time to get rid of the Moors out of Spain and out of the Vatican, because the Moors built the Vatican over there. They built St. Peter's Church, and today called St. Peter's Basilica in 1445, et cetera, et cetera. And then with this Inquisition, they ran the Moors out of Spain and the Vatican. Some of the Moors went into Mali, where Timbuktu and Mansa Musa is supposed to have held sway. Now, what they're calling the University of Timbuktu, it took me many, many years to find this information, because I couldn't. If you go into trying to find any evidence of a university, as we know a university today, you won't find one in physical form. Universities today that we know of have campuses and buildings and things like that, staff of teachers and so forth and so on. So I couldn't find that. So one day I ran across the material, and I began to read this material, and this is what they're saying about the Timbuktu, the University of Timbuktu. When the Moors was run out of Spain, some of them went into Mali, which is in Africa, as you know, and they took their manuscripts with them, because they had brought civilization to Spain, and they helped Spain by way of building cities, Toledo, Granada, and so forth and so on. And they introduced bathhouses and soap over there, and they set up a government, and they introduced literacy and so forth and so on. So they were over there for 427 years until they were run out during the Spanish Inquisition in 1478. Now, getting back to the Moors being around Spain during this time, they're coming into Mali, some of them, and they brought with them their manuscripts that they taught out of, different subjects, science, mathematics, other literary forms of learning that came out from their manuscripts and so forth and so on, biology, and it goes on and on. So now the manuscripts that they taught out of is called the University of Timbuktu. That's the university. And Wikipedia is a very, very dangerous form of learning anything, okay? Because Wikipedia cannot be trusted for any type of research. They'll take you off down a road that you sometimes won't even get back. But anyway, that's the bottom line of what I'm trying to get to you. It's the manuscript, not the
so much. That was
university that these
that was wonderful.
Moors taught from. That's the University of Timbuktu.
I really, really appreciate you for that. What about Saint Maurice? Was that a real person? The martyr that lived, that they say he fought, he refused to persecute Christians on behalf of the Romans in the 2nd century because he was a Christian, something like that. So obviously you know that I know that Christianity starts in 431 at the Council of Ephesus. I know. But I'm asking you, why do you think they made this Saint Maurice guy up? or do you not really
St.
have any
Maurice
thoughts on
is
that?
coming out of you get that from the brother out of New York. I'm trying to think of his name now. It came out many years ago.
Benjamin Banneker?
No, the 100 Facts About the Negro. What was his name out of New York?
Carter D. Wood?
Not Carter D.
Was it, you're talking about the Jamaican guy?
Yes. I can't bring up his name now, but that's where you get St. Maurice from. You see, 100 Facts About the Negro. That's where they came from. J.A.
Rogers. J.A. Rogers. Yes.
Correct. Right. That's J.A. Rogers writing. So you can't go by that because, again, J.A. Rogers took a lot of what Western academia said without investigating and researching behind what they were saying to see if there was any facts or truth to it. So that's where Maurice came from. No, okay. Christianity they say in the 6th century was really was not established that good. Okay, that was the beginning.
No. Hold on. No. They're not saying the 6th century. They're saying they're saying that he died in 287.
Who's that? Maurice?
Yeah, they're saying that he was a 3rd century Christian. You know how they do. Yeah,
okay,
they're saying he was born in
the 3rd century.
They're saying that he was born in Egypt. And he was born in Egypt, and he was leading a Roman army, and he ran into like some Christians group that he refused to attack because they were Christians, and they're saying they're saying that back then Rome was persecuting Christians. So they're saying that. So that's the whole story behind Saint Maurice, allegedly that he died in 287 in Switzerland.
All right, now listen to this. That's the 3rd century. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
In the 3rd century, there was no religion on earth, no place. Christianity wasn't even thought of then. Okay? There was no religion on planet Earth from any culture, from any place on earth. So that's factually incorrect. Okay? So there was no Maurice. So that's the reason why I said you got to be very careful and stay away from Wikipedia because they're going to give you misinformation. They're going to give you information that is out here that is common among the religious world and the religious way of thinking out here. So they put things out here to correspond with what's already out here in order to try to be as correct as possible. No, when you in reality, the 3rd century had no religion, no religious literature of any kind on planet Earth. So that's my answer.
Yes, sir. And very last question: Did you say that Justinian got the donation of Constantine in 550 or 555?
You said Justinian did what now?
Did you say that Justinian killed Vigurius and took back the donation of Constantine in 550?
No, 555.
Okay, perfect. So my question is, if that happened in 555, then how did he call the Council of Constantinople, or is the Council of Constantinople II? Is that not how did he call it if he didn't have the donation of Constantine yet? That's my question.
He called it because he overrode the donation of Constantine. Okay, and he wanted it back. So by him wanting it back, and he was the emperor, he thought that he had the power to take it back, which he didn't technically, because the donation of Constantine was in the hands of the Melkite Coptic Egyptian. But he wanted it back because now, at that time, the world's first Christian church, the Hagia Sophia, was created there in Northeast Africa in 532, finished in 537. So therefore, with that church being finished and dedicated to the Church of Mary and Christ, he wanted that donation back to give him the ecclesiastical power to be over that church. Without that donation, he did not have the ecclesiastical power to be over that church because Constantine gave that power and authority to Sylvester I in 314, 319. You see? So by him forcing to get back that donation to Constantine, he started with Apoptosis in 532 at the beginning of the building of the Hagia Sophia. Apoptosis, which is the Melkite Coptic Egyptian, African, refused to give him that donation back. So what he did, Apoptosis ended up found dead in a mysterious way. The second person that donation went to was Silverius. Silverius was another Coptic, Melkite Coptic Egyptian. And what Justinian did, had his army general and his wife to draw up treason papers against Silverius. And they arrested him and put him in jail, and that's where he died. Then the third person, that African that went, donation of Constantine went to, was Vigilius, you see, and he asked Vigilius to give back to donation of Constantine. In fact, he had an African lawyer by the name of Theodosius to tell him how to get that donation of Constantine back from Vigilius. And his lawyer, Theodosius, told him, said, what you do, you have and ask Vigilius to take up communion with the Monophysites, knowing full well that Vigilius was not going to take up communion with any Monophysites because of the feud that they had between each other. So Vigilius refused to do that. So what he did, he pursued Vigilius up until 555 until he found Vigilius and killed him and murdered him. And he took back the donation to Constantine. And then when he took back the donation to Constantine, they gave him the power and authority over the world's first Christian church. And then he, after he had that power of authority, he then appointed an African by the name of Pelagius I to become the Papa or the Pope of that church, the Hagia Sophia, by giving him the authority over that church by way of being the vicar of Christ sitting on the throne of the Hagia Sophia. And then he also took the Melkite Coptic Egyptians and they created the Patriarch of Constantinople. The word Patriarch of Constantinople means that a person who is the Patriarch of Constantinople is nothing but a monophysite.
Monophysite, yes, sir.
Right.
I know everything you teach, yes, sir. I know everything you teach.
So that's my answer to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, and I hope that we kind of that we can see more eye to eye, that we're on the same page. But I'll leave you with this. As far as this character Saint Maurice, just to recap that, it's not just him on Wikipedia. The History Channel did an entire special on the guy. It was like 40 minutes long, where they recreated this whole animation. And although I don't believe everything that I see, especially on these white publications, I know that a lot of black people watch this stuff, and that's why I have to ask these questions to you so I can educate myself, so I can educate them. So
okay, now,
that was.
I appreciate that. Now you got to remember this: that Western academia has got a different version of Christianity from what I had narrated on March the 29th on this very program about the history and origin of Christianity. Now, when the seed of Christianity moved out of Northeast Africa, out of the double-walled city of Constantinople, out of the Church of Hagia Sophia, into Europe by way of John VIII, who in 1439 went to Florence, Italy, and Ferrara, Italy, and relinquished the donation of Constantine so that seed could be moved out of Northeast Africa, out of the Hagia Sophia, into Rome, on the outskirts of Rome, near the catacombs. So when that happened, you see, then here they come, the Europeans, coming up with a European Christianity, you see, and they came up with the Last Supper. of Christ, a painting created by Leonardo da Vinci, okay, with attached stories to it. Different Christianity from what I had narrated for 2.5 hours on March the 29th on this very show, you see? And so they change Christianity altogether. The world today, as we live in it, not getting the true historical origin of Christianity, as I narrated, getting a European version of what the Europeans changed to be Christianity. So what they, essence, and what they've done is that by them changing this, they have created their own narratives. So they had to create so-called information or narratives that will correspond with what they're talking about today. That's what I'm saying, you see? And now, it's a funny thing that Christ was created at Ephesus in 431. Then 1,045 years later, he is eating his last supper to die. You see? And when a person is incarcerated in a prison, and he's given the death sentence on this last day on earth, when they're going to execute him that day, they give that individual his last supper. Okay? So now it took this Christ 1,045 years to have his last supper. Like I said, a painting drawn by Leonardo da Vinci. Then the next painting that drawn by Leonardo da Vinci was the crucifixion of Christ with attached stories to it. That will correspond with what they're talking about today. This is what I'm trying to bring out to you. That's my answer and observation to you.
Well, I just wanted to tell you that you were in rare form this evening, and I can't wait to listen to the rest of the show. May I Hotep?
May I Hotep, my brother, and thank you so much for calling back, and I hope that I cleared up things for you.
Okay, my pleasure.
All right.
Take care. Stay safe, both of you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Dr. Williams, man, we've been rolling trying to get started. So why don't we take a little quick break, and and then when we come back, we can actually start the broadcast. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, y'all hold on a minute. We'll be right back.
There are 9 areas of activity. The 7th area is religion. And economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. The white supremacists, when they got the idea that they were going to establish something called white supremacy, they said we have to dominate these people in all areas of activity, including their religion, particularly their religion, because religion is what? A strong belief backed up by action. That's all any religion is. And the white supremacists said we're going to make white supremacy the strongest religion that has ever existed. They have succeeded in that. They are not in the process of doing that. Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, Confucianism, Judaism, all of these other religions don't come anywhere close to being as strong as the religion of white supremacy. A strong belief backed up by action. So people are in complete disarray. Confusion, which is what the white supremacists do. They confuse people. Well, we got them confused. We're working on getting them all confused sexually. But we have long ago got them confused when it came to the 7th area of activity, religion. All of these dark-skinned people around here killing each other, hitting each other over the head with the Bible, having endless barbershop arguments about what Ezekiel meant, or what Solomon did or didn't do, or what Ruth said or didn't say. We got them confused. That's what we do. We take any holy book and we read it, and we thoroughly add to it and subtract from it, and then we distribute pamphlets, or samples of it, that adds to the confusion, with our names on it. And we establish different type of churches and whatnot. Different church on every corner with a different name. Supposed to be the same religion, but we got a different church with a different name. Adding to the confusion. Go over here to the Protestant church. Oh, no, they don't know what they're talking about. Then go over here to the Catholic church. And, oh, no, they don't know what they're talking about. Well, what about Jehovah's Witnesses? Okay, well, we'll sample some of that. And they don't know what they're talking about. And then the white supremacists sit back, well, when it comes to all you dark-skinned people, you got one religion. And that's the religion that I say that you have. But I might say, depending on how I feel, that you will have all of them at once or none of the above. But you will bow down to one religion, and that's the religion of white supremacy. I don't care what you think in your heads, and you black people can argue all you want to in the barbershops over there on the colored side of town or in your millions of churches. You can scream and yell and stomp and holler, but when the white supremacists walk into your church and say, all of you, get on your knees to me, because I'm the one who feeds you, clothes you, shelters you, and even allows you to have a church on this corner rather than a parking lot. So you will do what I say, or you will feel my wrath. I'm your God, and don't you ever forget it.
All right, everybody, we're back. I'm going to open up the phone line. Dr. Williams.
Yes, sir.
All right. Are you ready to begin with answers to the question, who is this man called God, and where is God?
Okay.
You have the floor.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Tarhaka, for having this program tonight. And, again, we're going to try and bring information that will cause us Africans in the African community, in America, especially America, and throughout the world, to begin to evolve. Think. Like you always said, you have a brain you was born with, but you have to use it by way of thinking. Now, you also have to seek information in order for us to grow. We have to be like the child, or like we were as children when we found in the closet during Christmas time all the toys that was put up under the Christmas tree for us to find. In other words, when we found those toys in the closet, we knew that there was no Santa Claus. We knew that our mothers and fathers had went along with tradition to try to for us to fit in with what tradition is saying about Christmas, that this big fat white man riding in a sleigh, drawn by reindeers in the sky, is going to come down the chimney and bring toys to us. So when we found the toys that was supposed to have been delivered by Santa Claus in our closet, at that point we knew that there was no Santa Claus. We began to do what? Evolve. So that's what we're going to have to do at this very moment. We have to continue to evolve as a people. We are looking for information that will help evolve. Now, the topic of the night, or the topics of the night, is that who is this man called God? Okay, let's go into that. God is a very dominant force in our thinking in the African community and throughout the African diaspora. So we are going to get into that to find out who is this man called God. Now, let's go back to the church. The minister in these churches will tell you that God created man from his own image. Okay? Now, that's telling you that God is a man. If God created man in his own image, then God is a man. Okay? That's number one I want you to think about. Number two, I want you to go to your dictionary and look up God, G-O-D, in there. When you look up God in the dictionary, it says a male deity, a supreme being, a male deity. So a male deity is a man. Okay, back to that man thing again. So, but when you look up goddess, it says a female deity, different from the man definition, of course, because you got two different humans. So therefore, God in the dictionary is a man. That's number two. Then you go a little further. My wife came to me one day, and she says, Walter, I want to tell you something about God. I said, okay. She says, God is an abstract idea that needs human spirituality to give it life. If you do not, as a human being, believe in God, then you do not give God life. Because your belief gives God life. It's an abstract idea that needs human spirituality, human belief to give it life. Without you believing in God, God is dead. Has no power whatsoever. Now, let's go a little further on that, and look. I'm going to bring into the area of what these God theology, Christian theology, and religious theology, other religious theology, and the church and the ministers of these churches are doing to us humans, us Africans in the African community. Now, they got African people looking for a God that does not look like themselves. You go into these churches and you bow down to a dead white man on the cross that don't look like us, and they are telling you that that's God. Okay? And they teach you that's God. And they have you to bow down and prostrate yourself in a position whereby they offer you a wafer and have you to eat this wafer, which is the body of God, Christ. They offer you wine as the blood of God, Christ. So therefore, you don't know anything about yourself. It's like I've mentioned on many occasions on this program, that all one has to do is go into the mirror and look at your image that looks back at you in that mirror and say to yourself, I, whatever your name may be, was not born with a religion. That man gave me the religion. I was born with an indwelling divine spiritual birthright. And that birthright is what was a gift from you to you from your mother and your father. Okay? That gift to you was given to you by your father impregnating your mother. By releasing his sperm, and your mother's egg received that sperm, thus causing you, the human being, to be in a process of developing for 9 months. At the end of 9 months, you came out attached to your mother's umbilical cord. That umbilical cord was cut to separate you from your mother. That umbilical cord served and gave you 3 things to keep you alive and keep you to continue to develop for that 9 months. And that's air, food, and water. Okay? Once that umbilical cord was cut to separate you from your mother, you had life still soaring through your body. You had life. So now your gift from your mother and father is life. And I call it an indwelling and spiritual birthright. your indwelling spiritual birthright, a gift from your mother and father. So you have to really understand that no human was born with a religion, but you was born with a spirituality, a spirituality that I'm calling a divine spiritual birthright, which you have. All humans have. You got 8 billion humans walking this earth, of all different races and colors walking this earth as human beings, and they all came into being the same way as I described, the same way as you and I. So therefore, you were not born with a religion, but the man comes along and he creates a religion for you in order to control your thinking and your actions. That's what religion is about. And the second thing why religions were created, because the European who has dominated this earth and humanity for 2,352 years, beginning with Alexander coming to Egypt up until 2020 as I speak. So now, he had nothing to offer the world. He came into in Egypt among our African ancestors, the ancient Egyptians, and that's when the clock of history began to tick for him and all Europeans. See, so he began his dominance right there at that moment, and it continued for 2,352 years to this very date, from 332 BCE all the way up to 2020. This is a period of 2,352 years. So now, this is what you have to really understand of what's happened to the world of humanity and what has happened to you and what has happened to us as the African people. Okay? So, you have to know, again, that God is a man. God has no power unless you give him your spiritual power. When you go into these churches and sit up in the pews of these churches, you do not have to think. You come in with a package. This package has 3 things in it: Jesus the Christ, the Bible, and God. That's your package for you to believe in. The Bible is a book that one has to believe in order to make the Bible true to that individual. The Bible is not a history book. If you find a documentary that was being narrated by Morgan Freeman, also he's in that documentary. It's called In Search of God. In that documentary, In Search of God, Morgan Freeman ends up into the illegitimate state of Israel in the home of a female rabbi, having supper with her family. At that dinner table, she told him that the Bible is not a history book, but a book of ideas. So don't get in your psyche that the Bible is a history book. Another rabbi who wrote a book called The Original Torah 20 years ago, came out in 2020, 2000, the year 2000 or 2000. He wrote a book called The Original Torah. In this original Torah book, he said there's never been an Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Sarah, Gideon, Esau, David, or Joshua. And I, Walter Williams, says that in the Bible, any mention of a character in that Bible, 99 9/10 of any name mentioned in that Bible never walked the earth as human beings. Okay? Then S. David Sperling went on to say that he is compelled to read the Torah allegorically because it cannot be read historically. So don't put no faith in the Bible as being true history or true human history, okay? Because it's not. Like I teach my students, never go into the Bible with nobody, because you stay on the outside of that Bible and you learn about that Bible from the outside, but you cannot learn about that Bible stepping into the Bible, because they got everything all prepared for you to believe in. So, so it is very important that you understand what is being put before us as a people. Europeans had no God when they came into Egypt. Our ancient Egyptian ancestors created a God for them. And the God that they created for them is known today as Jesus the Christ, as I narrated on March the 29th on this show, The History and Origin of Christianity. Our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians, those Melchites, created God using the image of Ptolemy to do that for the Europeans now. And that image today of that Greek Ptolemy is hanging on the cross in every Christian church throughout America and throughout the world. So the image and the icon and the symbol of white supremacy is institutionalized in every Christian church throughout America and throughout the world. And that's that image that's hanging on the cross called Jesus the Christ, which is the image of Ptolemy, as I mentioned in my narration on March 29th, a couple of months ago, about the history and origin of Christianity. So these are some of the things that you need to know about who is this man called God. God is a man. A man has no power to create by himself anything with life in it. A female by herself has no power to create anything with life in it by herself. Now the two has to be mated together. The male and the female have to be mated by way of a sexual encounter in order to bring procreation to this world of humanity. By him releasing his sperm and her egg of the female receiving the sperm from the male in order to start procreation to come into being of the 9 months of incubation, like I mentioned before. So, you have to know something about yourself. You have to know something about reality as to how an individual human came into being by way of the mother and father. Your mother and father are your creators. So therefore, I said to every listening person that's listening to me at this very moment that who is God? God is your father that you call daddy, that you call your father, your personal God, that you have 8 billion humans walking this earth of all races, creeds, and color, and each human being has their own personal God, okay? So therefore, I am the personal God to my daughters, okay? Her mother is her personal goddess. Together, we created her. My daughter then marries, and I have a granddaughter. And my granddaughter's father, who she called daddy or papa or whatever she wants to call him, that's her personal God. And my daughter, her mother, is her personal goddess. You see? So every human have their own personal God, and that's the human being that they call daddy, dad, or father. That's, in reality, the truth. So that's getting back to the answer of who is this man called God. I just explained it to you. Now, the next question, or the next area of investigation, is that we have to know this. What is God? Okay? Very good question. What is God? Who is this man called God, and what is God? God has no power by himself. God did not create the heavens and the earth, as they tell you in Christian theology. God is a man. A man cannot create the sky, the planets, the stars, the moon, the sun, air, earth, water, vegetation, animals, and so forth and so on. Can't do that. How did all these entities come about? Don't know. That's the mystery of life. Going back to another question. What created the first man and the first woman to appear on planet Earth? The answer, don't know. That's called the mystery of life. No human can tell you when the first man and the first woman appeared on planet Earth. Can't tell you that. No human on Earth, going to the third question, can tell you after going to a funeral, looking at the deceased in the casket, as to where that individual's spirit went after he died or she died. The answer is, don't know. Mystery of life. The reason why you won't know these three things is because no human can tell you how they got here as human beings. You cannot tell me how you got here, what took place during the 9 months of incubation in your mother's body. During that 9 months of incubation, you cannot tell me what month your eyeballs came in. You cannot tell me when your toes came in, your feet, your legs, your arms, your brains, your skull, etc., etc. You can't tell me that because you don't know. You found yourself here on Earth as humans on Earth. You found yourself here, okay, at a certain conscious memory by way of an age in your mind. I, Walter Williams, found myself here at 4 years old. Tarhaka told me he found himself on Earth as 3 years old. And each human on Earth have their own conscious memory as to when they consciously found themselves on Earth, okay, as human beings. Now, beyond that, from 0 to 4 for Walter Williams, I can't tell you anything about Walter Williams. You see? So I found myself here, and you multiply me finding myself here at 4 years old, living in Chicago, Illinois, geographically, belonging to a certain race of people called Negroes. Now, you can multiply that. Many times people ask me, where did the Europeans come from? I don't know. The Europeans can't tell you where he came from and how he found himself in Europe. He found himself in Europe. That's why he found himself. How he got there, he don't know. The Indians of India found themselves in India. How he got there, Indians don't know. The Chinese found themselves in China. Yes, the China. But how do you get in China as a Chinese? He don't know. He found himself as an African the same way. So there's a lot of mystery out here. So what is God? God is an abstract idea that needs human spirituality to give it life. That was a perfect answer that my wife revealed to me. God is an abstract idea that needs human spirituality to give it life. Now, meaning, the abstract means that if you put 10 people in a room and ask them the question, what is God and who is God, you come out with 10 different answers. See? Because it's an abstract idea that needs human spirituality to give it life. Now, these religions, like I mentioned before, takes us Africans and lead us to this dead white man on the cross that don't even look like us and said, that's God. That's your God. And you sit down and you accept this God. Okay? We are the only people that accept this God, a God that don't even look like us. Okay? So therefore, there's confusion there. So we need to know that. Now, the third question is, where is God? Yes, that's a good question. He asks that question all the time. Where is God? Tarhaka said, if you know where God is, where he's living, give me his address. I'd like to go by there. Well, I would like to be with Tarhaka to go by there to see and meet God myself. Where is God? Especially in this corona out here in the world today, killing all these different people, okay, causing disruption among today's humanity all over the world. Where is God? Okay, where was God when Dylan Roof went into Mother Emanuel's Church in South Carolina and murdered 9 parishioners there? Where was God then? Okay, where was God when Katrina hit and killed thousands of people and misplaced thousands of people to be homeless and so forth and so on? Where was God? Where was God when our brother George Floyd was killed over this past Monday by this uncivilized, inferior, spiritually dead savage who took his knee to the neck of this brother and smothered the life out of him? Okay? Where was God? Having this man calling for help, calling for his mother who was deceased to come and help him. Okay? Where was God then? So you have to, I can go on and on about where is God. God is nowhere to be seen. God is an abstract idea that needs you, the human being, to give your life by you thinking that there was a God or that there is a God. See? So people, you have to come to realize what God is all about, who God is, and what they're leading you, especially African people, to think and believe who God is, and that's that dead white man on the cross that don't look like us. So, Brother Tarhaka, I'll turn the floor back over to you.
All right, Dr. Williams, that's fantastic. We appreciate it, man. I got the caller still has his hands raised at area code 646. I'll make another attempt to open up these phone lines. Ladies and gentlemen, the number to dial into the broadcast is 319-527-6084. Press 1 on your phone. That'll give me an indication that you got something to say. Area code 646, you're on the air. What's your question, comment? Tell us who you are. 646, area code. Okay. Let me go down here to area code 312. 312, you're on the air. Tell us who you are, where you're calling from, what's your question, comment for our guest, Dr. Walter Williams.
I'm calling from the Windy City of Chicago. This is Brother Yoel from the Underground Bookstore.
Oh, welcome, my brother. Brother Yoel.
Yes.
What time you get here, man?
Good afternoon to you and Professor Williams and the rest of the listening audience.
Good afternoon, my brother.
I just had a little difficult time trying to get on today because my brothers and sisters out there kind of acting up pretty badly right now. They was all over here where I'm at now, so they went into several businesses over here and just pillaged and took everything that it wasn't tied down. So trying to make sure they know that books are not on the list.
Okay.
So
all right.
That's all. But
are you at?
And they still active right now, So I don't know about in your city, but they still going around the whole city here in Chicago. They was all down in Hyde Park too. Professor Williams. So anyway, that's what's going on here. A lot of excitement, But I'm glad I made it for a while. I made it for a while, and let to go back and check again and make sure that they ain't coming back this way. But I made it in for a while anyway. I'm glad to be here, So
let's stick to our subject. Let's talk about God now.
All right.
And I think God is singular and plural too, ain't it? So that don't encompass male and female.
Well, give us a rundown on what you're talking about. The subject is, who is the man called God? What is God and where is God? That's our subject.
I don't know, but what I would like to know is, how did they stick? Okay, well, how did this God, the word God, get stuck to a deity? When did that start?
That started. Okay, that's a good question. If you go back into my lecture that I gave on March the 29th on this broadcast, I gave a lecture on the history and origin of Christianity. First God was made, man-made God was created for the Europeans. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
They used the image of Ptolemy to do that. The first Ptolemy of ancient Egypt. The word Ptolemy means Greek ruler of ancient Egypt. And they gave this Ptolemy the attributes of our deity, Osiris, and Apis, bull of Memphis. So we gave them the name by making a composite of the two names, Osiris and Apis, the bull of Memphis, came out with Osiris. So the creation of God at that time was the creation of the European being given and made a God or by the Melkite Coptic Egyptians. That was the first time. We're talking about 320 BC. Okay? So go back to that beginning and you walk and learn the history from that point, from 320 BC all the way up to the year 2020 as we speak today. But the beginning of the answer to your question was our ancestors, the Melkite Coptic Egyptians, created God for the Greeks. Okay? Our ancestors didn't need no creation of a God because we had everything that we spiritually need in the culture of our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians, who had been and had a civilization before the Greeks came into Egypt in 332 for 9,668 years. See? So that's when this God concept came about for the Europeans in 320 BC. And today, that image is on the cross, known as Jesus the Christ. So it's been out here all those years, you see. So that would be my answer to you.
Okay, I noticed when I look it up in the etymology dictionary, which is a dictionary, the study of the origin of words, for those people who might not know what an etymology dictionary is. And it's one of the things that it concludes in the definition after given certain nationalities pronunciation of it. It ends by saying not allied to good. I find that very interesting. Not allied to good.
Which means, break it down.
You have to take it from there, Doc, because I don't know what that portion means.
Okay, well, anything that you don't know anything about, don't speak it. Because you may be
that's why I stopped there. But I was just amazed at the way it ended the definition.
Okay. But I still want you to clarify and give us a meaning, if you can. You say you can't. The meaning of what you just spoke or the statement that you made. Give me what were they talking about? So you say you can't do it, so move into the next area about God.
Okay. All right. Well, the point I was making though in that was that that God, we look at God as good, but this definition concludes the definition in here of that word God by saying not allied to good, and that's why it got captured my attention. That's all.
I got you. I understand.
Since we look at God as good.
Now, God is not good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? God allows humans who believe in God to be murdered, like they did at Mother Emanuel's Church in South Carolina. Allowed those 9 people to be killed by a uncivilized savage dealing roof. Katrina, over 3,000 or more people got homeless, became homeless. So many thousands died. Like this brother that got murdered, and his life was smothered out of him this past Monday by this uncivilized, spiritually dead savage of a policeman. Okay, there in Minnesota. Where was God then? You see, so God is not good because God allowed this whole planet to be invaded by a virus called the coronavirus that killed thousands of people, going up into the millions, and so forth and so on, and disrupt the rhythm of the world of humanity doing so. So God is not good. I beg the difference. If anybody who claims that God is good. Now, don't bring me anything individually of what God has done. Oh, God has done this for me. I'm not talking about you. Okay? This God concept is bigger than one human being. Okay? I'm talking about what has God done for all of humanity? Nothing. Why did God allow us Africans to be put into slavery in this country in 1619? Why did God allow us to be lynched in this country by this savage they call the white male? Why did God allow Jim Crow laws to be initiated against us as a people? Where was God? Okay? And I can go on and on and on. So God is not good. So don't tell me about a God. I'm not talking to you, Brother Yuri. I'm talking to the general public. Don't tell me about a God that's done something for you that you think happened in your life that was good and that God did this. No. Okay? So I give homeless people and people on the streets who are begging for money for food and et cetera, et cetera. I give them $1. They say, oh, thank God. I say, wait, hold it, my brother. God didn't give you that. Not the God that you're thinking about, that invisible God that you're thinking about. I gave you that $1. Okay? So you thank me for that $1, not no invisible God. You see? So therefore, people thinking that this invisible God, the power for doing good or for doing things for themselves and for all of humanity. Okay? Don't think that way because God is only an abstract idea that needs human spirituality to give it life. Other than that, God has no life whatsoever, on which you, the human being, gives God by way of your thinking. You see? So that's what I have to say about that, my brother. Continue on.
Well, I look at the situation this way. One of the biggest components attached to this concept of God is fear. People are refusing to give up a belief in a God because they are afraid that if they don't believe in this God, concept called God, that something bad is going to happen to them, or they're going to go to hell and all of this stuff. But to me, that is a gigantic paradox, because if you believe in God and you fear not to believe in Him, what difference does it make when all of these disasters, murder and violence and volcanoes, earthquakes, drive-by shootings, you name it, all this is going on? So what difference does it make? You might well throw it away. So, but they can't, because it's deep down in their mental psychic that there's a God. There's some guy up in the sky, and he watches everything you do, and he's got 10 things he wants you to believe in. And if you don't believe in them 10 things, you're going to die, you're going to go to hell, you're going to burn and die and suffer and pain and misery. But He loves you. He loves you. And He has a problem with money. I mean, He's all wise, all powerful, He created the heaven and earth and all that. Just can't quite handle that money. Every Sunday, He needs a little bit more. God, you want a loan from the pastor at the church to help pay your rent, he sends you to God. But when he gets ready to buy a new Cadillac, he calls on you. He needs you to give a little bit more on Sunday in the collection plate. Man, this God thing, man, this thing's something else, man.
Yes, it is.
But when you start communicating with people using common sense, they get upset with you. You can't just trivialize everything. I said, well, when is the last time you seen God? You can't ask a question like that. Why not? He get mad with you. What side of town do we live on? So I can put it in the GPS, go over there, get the zip code, and then I can tell everybody where God you claim to believe in, where he at, what side of town he's on, what street he on, what county he in, what district he at, and all of this business. They get mad with you because you insist on using common sense and you looking at reality in the face of reality. But in order for them to move and have their being, they had to have their heads in the clouds, and they had to believe in somebody they ain't never met, somebody they ain't never seen, or something they don't know anything about. They have to have that. And if they can't don't have that, then they are afraid. Because the opposite of God is the devil, and okay, now the devil in hell, wherever that's at, and you'll be tormented forever and ever, and you go on and all of this, he gonna stick you with the pitchfork, and all of this kind of business going on. So we have to believe in God, or else we have to we're gonna go to hell if we don't believe in God. This is the kind of business that's wrapped up in people's heads. And when somebody like me and Dr. Williams, you, Brother Yoel, we come along, oh, man, we must get rid of these awful, awful people. They don't believe in God. It's amazing. And it's deep-seated. Well, Dr. Williams, we're going to let's take us another little quick break, and When we come back, we'll continue.
Okay, I'll be here.
All right. Y'all hold on a minute. We'll be right back.
I used to believe in God, like our very articulate and eloquent speaker before us. I used to believe firmly in God. I was an ordained minister. I preached the gospel for 19 years. I felt this presence in my mind as I prayed. I got goosebumps as I was in communion with what I thought was the Holy Spirit of God. As I read the Holy Bible and read about the resurrection of Jesus, I dedicated my life to preaching that gospel that I thought was so real, that gave so much meaning, so much hope, so much beauty to the world. But I've changed my mind. I now know I was deluded. I was having a very real, very powerful, but mental experience that happens in most religions. I won't tell you my whole story, but I went through a process of deconversion that took 4 or 5 years, starting as a firm believer, evangelical, street preacher. In the foreword to my book, Godless, it tells that story. Richard Dawkins writes, Dan Barton was not just a preacher, he's the kind of preacher you would not want to sit next to on a bus. That was me. I was so convinced. I was so in love with Jesus, my Savior and my Lord. But I went through a process. Evangelical, fundamentalist, where I migrated into more of a moderate, where I preached less hell and more love, into more of a more liberal stage in my life, until eventually I dumped out all the bathwater and I found out there's no baby there. It's just words. It's just arguments. From the very articulate words we heard tonight, we didn't see any dots connected. We heard a lot of argument, but when it comes to evidence, only 2 pieces were offered, which we will probably get to: personal experience and the resurrection of Jesus. If nothing comes from nothing, then God cannot exist, because God is not nothing. If that premise is true, that nothing comes from nothing, and if God is something, then you've just shot yourself in the foot. Today is Thursday. What does that mean, Mr. President? Thursday. What does it mean? It's the day that millions of people believed in the god Thor. There was a gap in understanding. There was a mystery. What is that noise in the sky? What are those lights? What is all this? What is that? It must be an agency. It must be some being or something, and they named it Thor. And today we have a day of the week. We don't have a Jesus day, but we do have a Thor day that millions of people believed in, and maybe some still do. But that deity has found itself on the scrap heap of history, just like when I look at the deity I used to believe in, the God of the Bible. It started for me with the simple idea that Jesus told a parable about the prodigal son. A parable is what? It's a fiction. It doesn't matter if the prodigal son actually existed in history. It was the moral tale that mattered. The ancient Israelites made up a parable or a metaphor about Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and a talking snake. Look up in the dictionary the word fable. You will find it as a moral tale involving talking animals. We know that Adam and Eve could not have existed because of evolution. I assume everyone in this room accepts the solid fact of the evolution of the human species. So Adam and Eve could not have been real people. It was a metaphor, and many Christians accept that fact. They know there's metaphor, figures of speech in the Bible. But in my process, if the prodigal son is a fabrication, if Adam and Eve are a metaphor, then what about this other character, this Yahweh, this Jehovah, this Elohim character? Where do you draw the line? When we know that humans are very good at inventing myths, like the turtle in my Native American ancestry, the turtle that swam across the waters, brought up the mud from the bottom, created the continents. A beautiful story, a wonderful metaphor, but that didn't really happen. The God character himself is also one of those fictions I came to realize. Maybe a useful fiction, maybe it gave meaning, maybe it gave hope, maybe it gave purpose, a fiction nonetheless. The reason I am a non-believer today is because of the lack of evidence and argument for a deity. If there were any real evidence for a God, then by now someone should have won the Nobel Prize for pointing that out. Any scientist in the world would jump at the chance to say, here we go. I mean, if there is a hitherto unknown force of the cosmos that we haven't yet been able to determine What scientist in the world would not love to make that point? That hasn't been done yet. All we have are what we would call, and I think many believers call, God of the gap. The thunder and lightning was a gap that is now closed. The perhaps fine-tuning of the initial constants, perhaps the origin of the Big Bang. We do have some gaps in science. In fact, it is those gaps that drive science. Without those gaps, we wouldn't have scientific inquiry. What we are offered with is faith and belief. And you were very eloquent in saying that you have a belief in a God, that what you believe is God. But belief is not knowledge. Belief is simply an assertion, according to the Bible, that you believers believe. Belief is the evidence of things not seen, the substance of things hoped for. Belief is not evidence. Anytime you have to accept an assertion by faith, you're admitting that that assertion cannot be accepted on its own merits. It doesn't have the strength to be accepted as any other, perhaps, scientific hypothesis would be taken. Do scientists gather together every Sunday morning in their scientific sanctuaries and bow their heads and sing, "Yes, the Higgs boson is real. I know in my heart the Higgs boson is real. I will have faith. I will be strong to this secular world who challenges my belief that the God particle is real. Amen." If they did such a thing, you would think they were pretty insecure on the concept, wouldn't you? That's what we find with faith, a constant puffing yourself up. Be strong, resist the world, believe in these absurdities in spite of the doubts. The resurrection of Jesus Christ, the story of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, is the absolute worst example anyone could possibly give for the reliability of the Bible. And I'm not exaggerating. Let me tell you why I'm not exaggerating. Many stories in the Bible are given once or twice. The resurrection story is given 5 times. You can compare them. Scholars have never been able to reconcile those contradictory accounts of the resurrection of Jesus. And besides that, and there are many of them, was the tomb open or closed when the women arrived? What message did the angels give? How many angels were at the tomb? And so on. Besides that, we see through the development in the first century of the Christian myth that the earliest stories were simple. There were no angels. There were very few remarkable events. But as you go 10, 20, 30 years later, you find more and more until you get to the book of John, where you find these outlandish stories. What you see in the development of the resurrection story in the New Testament is the development of a legend, starting simple, growing over time, getting more and more fantastic. It's a mistake to treat those accounts as if they were flat, as if they all happened at one time. We can see before our eyes the development from a simple, unvarnished, perhaps some element of truth in some story about someone who may have spiritually ascended, like we say Grandma died and went to heaven. Maybe the early apostles said Jesus died and went to heaven, but that exaggerated. So the resurrection of Jesus Christ is not evidence for a God. And even then, it would just be evidence that a man rose from the dead. How do you connect the dots? We suffer also from a coherent definition of a God. We have a proposition: this house believes in God. What is that word? What does that word God mean? There are many, and I don't have time to go into much detail, but there are many incompatible properties that many theists assign to this deity, much like saying this deity is a married bachelor. Can a married bachelor exist? Logically, it cannot. And there are mutually incompatible characteristics of this deity that many theists have put forward that make it a married bachelor. For example, God is supposedly an omniscient being who has free will. But if you know the future, you can't have free will. I'm not talking about human free will, and that's a big debate whether we have it or not. Even atheists disagree among themselves. But God, presumably, this being is a personal being with free will who knows his own future decisions. In order to have free will, whatever that means, there has to be a period of indeterminacy during which you truly do have options. I could choose coffee or tea. I could choose this or that. But if you know your future options, you have no choice. You have no freedom. You are not a free personal agency. So if your definition of God is that God is omniscient and free, he cannot exist. He's a married bachelor. I know theologians try to tinker with definitions. By the way, if God cannot change what he knows he's going to do tomorrow at 12 noon, that also puts some limits on his omnipotence, doesn't it? lot of these arguments from design and teleology, for example, suffer from begging the question. It's rather like the man who is amazed. Look at how all these rivers were made to flow right along the state boundaries. How do you explain that? It must have been a massive feat of engineering, a huge economic development. How did they get those rivers to do that? Isn't that incredible? And yet that's how a lot of this teleological thinking is among how did the human eye evolve? How do you explain that? There must have been design behind it. It does look like design, doesn't it? Those rivers look like they were designed to flow right along those boundaries. It's an upside-down kind of thinking, and in a sense begs the question. The whole idea that in some of these teleological arguments that complexity requires a designer, and Richard, somewhere here, pointed out in his book, The Blind Watchmaker, anything that is complex enough to design functional complexity, any deity who could design has to have a mind that is at least as functionally complex as the thing that it designs, right? If your premise is that functional complexity requires a designer, if that's your premise, then the mind of that deity also must, by that premise, require a designer. And you get into this infinite regress of, well, then God needed a bigger God and a bigger God. I think most scientists prefer to just stop with what we do know rather than speculate endlessly about a mountain of turtles. Another lack that takes against the evidence for existence of a God is a lack of agreement among believers. If there is a deity that you love and care about, why do no two believers agree on any social or moral issue? You name it. Gay marriage, doctor-assisted suicide, stem cell research, death, the war, you name these social issues we're struggling with. You find devout, praying, Bible-believing Christians on both sides of those issues. Paul wrote in the Bible, God is not the author of confusion. But can you think of a single book that's caused more confusion than that Bible? They don't agree. Why not? Why shouldn't it be clear? Why shouldn't this all-loving, all-caring deity make it clear to us? It is not. They have fought with each other over these issues. The 30 Years' War, which was based to some degree on the confessional differences over infant baptism and transubstantiation. People were killed. John Calvin had his friend Servetus killed over a simple misplacement of a preposition. The lack of agreement among believers is a serious problem towards the existence of an all-loving, all-caring God. And then, of course, the problem of evil. And our previous speaker pointed out that is probably the Achilles heel in theology. All you have to do is walk into any children's hospital, and you know there's no God, at least no good God. Maybe there's an evil God. Those children are dying at the same random rate, even though their parents are desperately praying, desperately loving those kids, wanting some kind of divine intervention, and yet, as Ann Gaylor says, who's the former president of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, nothing fails like prayer. That would be evidence. If you could give some scientific evidence that prayer actually makes an organic difference, not just makes you feel better, but an actual difference in the real world, that would be something to put on the table. The fact that that's not put on the table shows that prayer is pretty much talking to yourself. Finally, there's no need for a belief in God. Millions, tens of millions of people on this planet live happy lives, productive lives, moral lives, purposeful lives, lives of hope and meaning, without deluding ourselves that there are these invisible personalities populating some supernatural realm. We are quite happy, thank you, without that belief. Based on all of that, it is more likely to reject the proposition than to accept it. Thank you.
My question is for Professor Thompson. I noticed in your discussion you spoke of Jesus citing the Gospels and the Bible repeatedly, which I believe is a perfect way of addressing Jesus in seminary or in church. But it's a circular argument to some extent. It's the Bible is right because the Bible says it is right. So I guess what I'm asking is, do you have any historical evidence regarding Jesus outside of the Bible? Because I do not regard the Bible as history any more than I regard the Odyssey or the Iliad or the Epic of Gilgamesh as history. And I would say that I believe Josephus' account is a forgery, and I don't believe that there is any historical evidence. So, thank you.
As I said, if it isn't in the Gospels, you're right. We can never know Jesus. Is my view. There is some other evidence. There are some other references to Jesus. They are few and far between. A couple of Roman historians, for example, who referred to Jesus and his followers in pretty derogatory terms. As you may know, first century Rome did not think highly of the Christians and thought that they sort of reflected about what Jesus was. There's some quote to the effect that the Christian movement, the movement started in Galilee, which is the source of all, what do you expect, bad things. So yes, there are a couple of references there. I think the reference in Josephus is embellished but historical, that Josephus does refer to Jesus. He correlates him with Pontius Pilate. There's probably... Sorry?
He never says Jesus. He refers to a Christ figure or a leader.
He does name him Jesus, but it's the who is called Messiah that... Notice it doesn't say who is the Messiah, but some regard him as the Messiah. The tribe of Christians has not died out to this day.
But there's no account of miracles or divinity.
There's no account of divinity, no. There is a statement who did, strange feats. That's debated about whether that's Josephus or not. The historical evidence of the Gospels, it seems to me, fits Jesus into a first century milieu. It explains him vis-a-vis. He looks like a first century Jew, and he can credibly give rise to the New Testament that we have. Granted, there is development of thought. So that I believe that the New Testament can be regarded as presenting a historically credible picture of a first century would-be prophet. I understand that the quote in New Testament itself may not say that's history, but I'm just saying if this is what we've got, this is what Jesus looks like. And I believe that will fit into the historical context.
For more information about the Veritas Forum, including additional recordings and a calendar...
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Let me open up the phone line here. Air code 312. You still with me, brother?
Yes, sir. I'm still with you. Be with you a little while longer now. Yeah. Well, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, I just want to give us a break and run through that little stuff that I had them plugs sitting on the switchboard for a while, and I decided to run through them and see what these folks talking about this God thing. And I got another caller with his hand raised at area code 312. We'll open that up. Hold on a minute, Brother Yoel. Area code 312. Last four numbers 3517. Tell us who you are, where you're calling from, what's your question or comment.
Okay, this is Walter Williams. I had to switch phones.
Okay. All right. I saw the call drop, and I was looking for your number to come back. Okay, we on.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I just run those little couple of plugs there because I had them been sitting up here for the longest, and I never got a chance to run them. I don't think I did. But anyway, for the listening audience, go to the number to dial into the broadcast. If you have a question or comment for our guest, 319-527-6084. Press 1 on your phone. That'll give me an indication that you have something to say, and open up the phone line so you can get in, okay? But now, Dr. Williams, it is quite incredible, this thing, and it's so amazing to me, now that I know better, how people have allowed this indoctrination of the mind to continue, because out of all that has transpired here lately with the corona thing and all of that there, right down the sidewalk from the big church across the street, they haven't opened up yet, but there's a guy down the street, every Sunday morning. He's still out there preaching about Jesus. And he has to be on the outside of the building because city inspectors told him that they couldn't host anything else up in that little complex anymore. They're going to have to leave there. And but he's outside on the sidewalk, put up his tent and have his speaker out there, and he's still doing that. He got 2 or 3 members that come and sit down with him in chairs out there on the sidewalk, still hollering about the same concept of a God and a Jesus. And that is amazing to me, man. And I look at people and I be like, when are we going to wake up as a people? I mean, what is it going to take for us, man? What y'all think is going to take, man, for us to put that down? Get that man back his religion and his Bible.
Well, what's going to have to happen, Brother Tarhaka, is this. Our people in the African community in America, because I keep bringing back and going back to the Africans in America, because we are the missing link in the African diaspora. Number one, we are the descendants of the ancient Egyptians, which the European has tried to erase that history and culture out of our psyche and teach us away from that. So therefore, we're going to have to get back and find our way back to ancient Egypt, like I've always said, because our greatness as a people is lying unclaimed in the continent of Africa, in a country called Egypt. And from that culture that was built and created by the ancient Egyptians for 9,668 years before the Europeans came into Egypt, we have to get back to that greatness, because that's where you will find the greatness of a people known today as Negroes, blacks, African Americans, etc. That's where their ancestors have developed and brought forth the rudiments of civilization for all of humanity. So we have to get back to that greatness. We have to teach our children who they are. And once you teach our children who they are, you will find a different mindset among the Africans living in this country. But when you take a people and cut them off from their ancestors' identity, cut them off from the land that their ancestors came from, cut them off from the culture that their ancestors lived through and created, and teach them away from that, and miseducate them, and put upon genocide in their mental thinking, and thus causing a destruction of a people. And then you put in their minds through the school system that what you're teaching them, which is based off of European mythology and foreign thoughts, that this is the right way to think, this is the right way to act, and this is the right way to treat yourselves and to treat your female women and to treat your fellow African man. So when you get and began to teach them away from that and teach them better, that's just like an individual finding the toys in the closet during Christmas time. For many years, that child had been taught that it was a big fat white man in the sky, with riding in a sled full of toys, driven by reindeers, is going to come down in your chimney and bring you toys. But once you find the source of where those toys came from, when you open that closet that time and you found the toys there, that you realized that your mother and father had bought these toys for you to be put under the Christmas tree while you sleep that night, so you can find them the next morning. So once you realize that, then you realize who you are and your greatness that's attached to who you are. So you have to find your way back. We as an African people in this country have to find our way back to ancient Egypt and claim our greatness, because our greatness is lying in the continent of Africa. Every African that's living on this earth, other than us in this country as Africans, they have a geographical land area in Africa that they can claim. The Nigerians can claim Nigeria. The Ghananese can claim Ghana. The Malians can claim Mali. South Africans can claim South Africa. But we are numbered in this country as being 47 to 53 million of us. We cannot go no place in Africa and claim a geographical land area or a country in Africa, because it's occupied already by other Africans. So therefore, who are we? Like Dr. John Henry Clark said about history. History, he said, is a compass that points the way for a people to find their place on the map of human geography. And that's what we need to use to find our place on the map of human geography. William A. Bennett once said, who used to be the Secretary of Education for America, for the United States, he said, to be ignorant of history is to be intellectually defenseless. In other words, if you don't know history, your personal history, then you are intellectually defenseless. So therefore, we're going to have to find our way back and claim our greatness, because we are a great people. The reason why we are great people is because our ancestors made us great. That's the legacy that our ancestors left us. So we have to find our way back. And once we do that, we can make a change and tell the world who we are. And then the world will take it from there. Okay? There are many people out here know who we are, but they're not going to tell you. See, like John Henry Clark said, we as an African people living in the United States of America, we do not have any friends. No friends out here. Nobody's coming up to us and say, hey, brother, African brother, you are descendant of the greatest people that's ever walked this earth. And they are known in history as the ancient Egyptians. Now, the Roman Catholic Church, getting back to religion, they know by way of history that there's no Jesus Christ. They know that there's never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form of a race, creed, or color by the name of Jesus Christ. They know that. Historically, they know that. But they're not going to tell you. As long as you fall into the trap of believing in these various religions, they let you stay there and let you die there and that you continue to believe. So when Tarhaka Monel Bay creates a show like that you have produced for the day, for a platform for me to come on and explain to the listening audience the history of what these religions are all about, and take us back to our greatness, ancient Egypt. Okay? We're the only outlet that's really doing that to this extent. So we are going to have to go back. In order for us to change, we've got to go back and learn about what happened to our African ancient Egyptian ancestors after the Greeks came into Egypt. It's very, very important to know that. While being forced to be at home, I am in the process of finishing my third book. A lot of you all have heard me speak about my third book, which is entitled Dispelling Myths of Ancient Egypt. Now, I am writing and finishing up the last chapter of that book. the last chapter of that book is this, about the Moors. The Moors in North Africa, the Moors in Spain, the Moors in the Vatican, and the Moors in America. I speak about those 4 places where the Moors came from. The Moor is nothing but a nickname, like I mentioned before. A Moor is a descendant of the ancient Egyptians. So I explain all of that in this particular book. So therefore, we're going to have to get back to the understanding of who we are as a people. Now, I hear a lot of people speak about slavery beginning in 1619, which is good. Okay, that's fine. That's the date it started. But they never speak about the 127 years prior to slavery, when the Moors, under the Spanish Inquisition in 1478, which was initiated by Ferdinand and Isabella and the Roman Catholic Church, that ran the Moors out of Spain and out of the Vatican, a portion of the Moors came over on the ship to America, on the ship that was navigated by the Moors and Christopher Columbus. See, they never talk about that. So from 1498 to 1619, the beginning of slavery, there's a 127-year void in there nobody talks about, because that 127 years that they will not talk about is the years that the Moors set up a third civilization in this country. You see, so it goes on and on and on. But the bottom line that I'm bringing to the African community today at this very moment, that we're going to have to get back and hook up with our ancient African, ancient Egyptian ancestors. We got to go back there. You cannot get away from it. You have to start from the very first and oldest civilized people on planet Earth. And those people who are the first and oldest civilized people are known in history as the ancient Egyptians. Why? Because they created an alphabet. Whoever creates the world's first alphabet are the oldest civilized people on Earth. I didn't say the oldest people on Earth now. Okay, no human on Earth can tell you when the first man and the first woman ever appeared on planet Earth to be the oldest people on planet Earth. But I'm telling you now, the oldest civilized people are our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians. Why? Because you go back and find the oldest civilized people having creation of the world's first alphabet, the first literate people on planet Earth. In order to be literate, you have to have an alphabet to make one literate. So therefore, we're going to have to go back to that. And on your dollar bill that you carry around in your pocketbooks every day, you have on the back of each dollar bill that you carry in your purse, wallets, and pocketbooks every day, you find the greatest monument that has ever been built by man, and that's that great pyramid on the back of that dollar bill. At the top of that dollar bill, you see a round ball, orange ball on there, where the sun is coming over that pyramid, which today, as I speak, in Egypt, that pyramid standing in the desert where the sun comes over it every morning, over that sun, over that pyramid. And the top of that pyramid is the position of us Africans, because that is the immortal legacy that our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians, left us. And we need to know that, and we need to teach our children that, so they can be with an understanding of who they are. Because right at this moment, everything is scattered. This scholar over here is saying this, and this scholar over here is saying that, and the school system is saying this, and the Bible is saying this, and this religion is saying that, and this person who got the ear of the African community, he's saying this, and he's bought this, and he's that, and that, and that, and all that's confusion. We need to go back and start from the very beginning. When you go back and start from the very beginning, you find your way back to ancient Egypt, us Africans. And that's where our greatness is lying in the continent of Africa, unclaimed by the descendants of the ancient Egyptians. That's what I have to say to that, Brother Tarhaka.
All right. Fantastic, Dr. Williams. Brother Yoel. Brother Yoel.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
You want to add on to some of that?
Well, there's nothing to really add to that I need to add to that anyway. But I will say that I guess it's going to take quite a bit and some time and something catastrophic to happen in order to take us or change our mind about this man called God and whatnot. So I don't know what that's going to take. But I guess maybe the easiest road that I see back toward that is it came from something Professor Williams just said, and that was going back to Egypt and seeing what their thoughts were and what they referred to, and whether it's a higher power, God, whatever they called it, or if they even refer to anything like that at all. So that's the best place to go back to and search and find out whether or not there was any man called God, and if there wasn't, then you remove that from the equation, and pick up whatever our ancestors had in ancient Egypt.
Well, I look at it. I constructed a series of questions, and I call it my common sense list. And it's real simple. Just going down. If we just look at this thing from a common sense list, Dr. Williams say, where was God when the Katrina hit? Or where was God when Dylan Roof hit? Where? Have you ever seen God? Yes or no? What has God done for us as a nation of people in 400 years in this country? I mean, just if we just the way I see it, if a person use common sense and be honest with yourself, I think in certain cases, I think we have to be afraid to face our own selves in our own mind when it comes to the concept of God and Jesus and religion. We refuse to be honest with ourselves. We'll rather go out our way to believe a lie than to face the truth. And once you tell a lie, you're going to have to do maintenance on that lie, and you're going to have to keep propping that lie up, and you're going to have to continue to do maintenance on that lie until you turn around and tell the truth. And then another thing, Europeans will tell you that Christianity is their religion. That's what it says. This is white man's religion. You got a cross. You're going to put a cross in somebody's yard, soak it down with kerosene, just set the cross on fire. Burning the cross in order to strike fear into somebody. And then everywhere you ever went on the earth, you killed somebody, and you don't get along with nobody on earth, but you are going to turn around and tell me something about God. I don't think based on what I have seen and the behavioral patterns that I've seen of these people, the word God shouldn't even roll off the lip. Not based on what I've seen. I mean, I've seen them do some things, man. When we was growing up over in the neighborhood where we lived at, when we was going to elementary school, there was a girl that was in my classroom, and every day we go to school, but one day she didn't show up for school. And the next day she didn't show up for school, and then everybody was wondering where she went. She just disappeared. Nobody didn't know where she went. Couldn't find out. There was a European that had an ice house around the corner. And some old ice trucks, so they used to put the big blocks of ice, and people would buy chunks of ice from them. But they found that girl back there dead in one of them old trucks. She'd been raped and murdered by him. And they arrested him and locked him up. Now, the Christian religion belongs to him. That's it. His religion. All the images in the Bible, you get your big Bibles with the pictures in it. All the images in the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, are pictures of people that look like him. Now, when you point that out to our people, they're going to override that by saying, well, nobody really knows what the people looked like back there in them days and stuff, and this, that, there, and instead of saying, I never paid that any attention. I need to do an investigation. I need to take a closer look at what it is that I claim to believe in, because if you change your mind, one of the good parts about it, you don't have to go inside the church and give nobody your hard-earned money. While you ride around in Chevrolet, they driving a Lexus or a Cadillac. But if you mention that, they're going to get mad with you. Because once you go in there and the pastor start preaching, you raise your hand and start asking questions, they're going to put you out of the building. You got to get out of here. Because you're not supposed to be in here thinking. We don't need you in here doing no thinking. Don't come in here thinking, because if you come in there thinking, then you're going to be asking questions. And which makes you what? Dangerous. You're dangerous. If you thinking and you begin to ask questions, then you're dangerous. Because you're thinking. And our country does not want an informed public. They want an obedient public. They want you do what we say do. If you're going to be persecuted, you cannot be trying to figure anything out. You can't send nothing down here talking about you actually thinking and asking questions and all that, because we'll have to put you in jail. Or either we'll have to label you insane for actually using your own brain. Isn't that something? We got a caller with his hand raised at area code 415. Area code 415, you're on the air. Tell us who you are, where you're calling from, what's your question or comment.
I'm from San Francisco, and I say hello to you, brothers.
Hey, Sister McGowan. How you doing?
McGowan. I'm doing great. I love what you guys are talking about. Hey, but there are many ways we see God. We've been so indoctrinated. Some people see that your president in the White House as a God. We see our black leaders as a God.
That's amazing.
We're looking for saviors, and everybody except ourselves.
Yeah.
So I want to know how the people see themselves as they. I want the people to get to see themselves as they saviors, not everybody else.
Boy, they scared of that.
scared of it. You live with yourself 24 hours. You live with yourself 24 hours, 7 days a week, all day. So how can somebody
we fail to
else
look in the mirror and believe
expert?
in ourselves.
There you go. I'm saying there's many ways
we always want to look at something outside of ourselves as a crutch to leaning post to lean on, instead of looking in the mirror and say, look, I'm going to take personal responsibility for me, and if there's any God around here, it had to be me. And but you can't say that there, because people will frown on you. You don't have no business having that kind of confidence. You think you're better than everybody else.
Oh,
let us talk, brother. Let us talk, brother Tarhaka. Go ahead, Emma.
I want to know: is it my business what other people think of me? That's what I want to know. Is it really my business to care what they think about me? Hey, answer that one.
What was that question? What was that question, Sister Emma?
What should I care what other people think about me?
Well, you shouldn't care unless you don't know who you are.
There you go.
You shouldn't care unless you have a weak personality. You shouldn't care if you have any knowledge of yourself and any knowledge of what's happening by way of history to us as a people, and have knowledge of history of what's going on out in the world, and that you can be strong in your own stance and your own humanity. So therefore, it doesn't matter what people think of you. We have a minister right here in Chicago, Reverend Clarence H. Cobb, used to say this. He said, it makes no difference what you think of me, but it makes a whole lot of difference what I think of you. You see? So don't allow others to come into your life and define who you are. You take charge of your life and you define who you are.
But I think most people are concerned what others think of them, and I think that's how most people actually live their lives.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
It all goes with the God complex. It's the fear. We live in fear all the time because we're afraid of what people will think about us. That's a big fear. Because if we don't believe in God, people look at you like you're crazy.
That's right.
So, it's a lot of things we need to think about because we are reacting to the same issue, even though it's got different names.
Here's the thing, Sister Emma, is this. We have to be strong enough in the knowledge of who we are as a human being, an individual human being. We have to be strong in our scholarship that we have gathered over the years of our lives. So if you go and tell a person, no, I do not believe in God, okay? If he has any criticism of you, that's on him. It shouldn't affect you because you know what you're talking about is right. And you know how you feel about the opinion that you have of God because you have thought about what to think about God. Your thoughts, your investigative research by way of meditation into knowing the truth about God. You gather those facts before you made the statement, no, I don't believe in God. See? So if an individual wants to believe in God, fine, that's on him. But don't push that on me. Okay?
I agree.
So
we got a lot of background noise, y'all.
Oh, we
knocking and bumping and what?
Sound like dishes.
You know what? That's probably me moving around.
Be still, Emma.
So I'll be
and let God.
Yeah, let God.
Let God.
Hey, wait a minute. I'll be
all
still
right,
and know. Wait. I'll be still and know that I am God.
Okay.
How about that?
Okay.
But,
great.
You know, this
well,
is
be
America.
still.
We don't have to take responsibility for our actions. We don't. We got God to take the responsibility. We got all kind of things. We got our parents, even though we're 100 years old ourselves, we got our parents to blame. Oh, yeah, you know, we got everybody to blame.
Y'all hold on. We got another caller with his hand raised. Air code 704. You're on the air.
Hey, Brother Tarhaka and Dr. Walter Williams.
Young man, hi.
Hey, Dr. Williams. I'm turning down my radio now so that I can hear you clearly. First of all, Mayat Hotep to you, Tarhaka, and to you, Dr. Williams.
Mayat Hotep, my brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My wife, she keeps up with the latest news, you know, in the world because she likes to stay abreast on things that are going down. And she just informed me that Donald Trump, with his idiot self, just did something that's totally outlandish. And I'll bring you up to speed as what I'm talking about. You remember the incident that went down in Charlottesville with the KKK and where the person got ran down and the group that was protesting against the KKK, they were called Antifa?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. This crazy dude, I don't call him Donald Trump, I call him Donald Stump, okay, because he's a stump of a human being. But anyway, he tweeted that he is going to label the group Antifa as a terrorist group.
Antifa, okay.
He just said that he is going to, on Twitter now, you know, the platform where everybody in the world see and get to comment, he just tweeted out that he's going to label this nonviolent, anti-fascist, anti-white supremacy group that's out here standing up for truth, peace and justice. He's going to label them as a terrorist group.
Wow.
What's the deal with that? Where is this world going to when we have a clown wearing a clown suit who can just put labels on people who are out here trying to make positive change on this world?
Well,
what talk to me.
We're trying to get to the bottom of it. We're talking about God tonight. So
no, it's the and let me segue this. If you look at it on a real level, Donald Trump is a god, which we know. Right. God is a man. God is a man.
I just said.
Yes, ma'am. Sister Emma McGowan. Yeah.
That was my point.
Yes. Yes. God is a man. Donald Trump is a god. You know, that just lets you know how weak and how loose this whole paradigm is. He has the power to segregate people with words. As a result of him tweeting that out, that's going to prompt all these redneck hillbillies to consider Africans as terrorists.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. You got to have your mind strong.
Maybe I'm a little behind times, but tell me, who is this group that you're talking about?
Okay, Brother Yoel. Well, what this group is, it's called Antifa. Basically, it stands for anti-fascism. Okay? And you have to recognize that we currently live under a fascist regime under Donald Trump. We have been ever since the conception of America, but we just don't see it as fascism because we don't have any input or any say-so as to where these laws go and how we're directed in this current paradigm. This group is the group that was out there protesting the KKK in Charlottesville. Remember when the KKK had their open march through Charlottesville, and you know they got they were able to get licensed to do that. You know how you can when you want to assemble and have a parade, you have to get a license from the city, and they okay it, and then you're able to do what you want to do. The KKK was able to do that in Charlottesville, and they held their parade, and the group, the Africans, they were mainly African.
Sound like you're cutting out. Sound like your phone cutting out.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Okay. With the KKK doing their parade in Charlottesville, a group of Africans with other nationalities included came out there to protest their parade, and the name of that group is Antifa. Okay? And as you know, the people who were down with the KKK started violence at that particular event, and they ran over people and injured and killed people. Now, these were the people who were peacefully protesting and going against white supremacy. Now, Donald Trump has tweeted on Twitter right about an hour ago that he considers Antifa, this peaceful group, a terrorist organization. Now, that's unconstitutional, just doing that. Him doing that on Twitter is the equivalent of yelling fire in a movie theater, which you can't do. That's not covered by free speech. He is labeling this organization as a terrorist group, which is going to prompt these hillbilly mountain rednecks to have the green light on Africans in America who are exercising their true constitutional right to assemble and protest tyranny.
Okay. Well, hold on a minute. I got another caller with his hand raised. I'm going to open up the phone line. Hold on a minute.
Okay.
Area code 864. You're on the air.
Hey. Peace and black power. How's everybody?
Everybody fine,
all
man.
Right.
Tell us who you are, where you calling from.
Hey, my name is Equani from calling from South Carolina.
Okay. What's on your mind?
Calling from where? From South Carolina. I'm calling from South Carolina, brother. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I was just listening to the last caller, and it's unfortunate that,
yes.
and in my opinion, there are a lot of organizations, a lot of groups that, claim to have African or black interests at heart, but, whether it be the LGBTQ movement, whether it be the feminist movement, you find a lot of these groups that sometimes couple themselves with our movement, right?
That's right.
And the reality is that we are not moving to be reactionary to no Ku Klux Klan, because in my opinion, like, I could care less about what the Klan is doing. I need to be worried about and concerned about establishing grassroots organizations in my community. You understand?
Correct.
So therefore, we can go out and we can have our pro-black movement. That's what we need to do, not to go out and say, hey, the Klan shouldn't know. We should meet them. You understand?
Right.
They have their free right to say, well, hey, we want this for white folk. We want to do, and we as black folk, we should understand why they feel that way, and we now need to start implementing and employing that same type of mentality. We do too
right,
much
and that was my point.
Everybody. Right. We want to hug
that was
everybody.
my point.
Right.
What I was saying was this: we are out there trying. Oh, go ahead.
Hold on. Let me. We got to be more organic in our approach to healing our community, and we can't heal our community until our families are healed. Right? I can't run out there and go heal and fix nothing downtown, and then run back to my home, and then I'm beating on my wife. You understand? We have to start healing these issues. We have to start killing that European from the inside out, and we all must be honest with that, because it didn't just start with George Floyd. We have to be honest with that. Everything might be up right now, but that's a spit in all the other hundreds and thousands of brothers and sisters' cases. You understand? There was so many cases whom didn't get named. So we're not only doing this for the brother George Floyd, we are wanting to restructure ourselves for the sake of our ancestors who lost their lives on the transatlantic slave trade.
The beginning part of that is we have to stop being black. That's where the fundamental flaw lies, because you have to understand the definition of the word. Black tells you how you look. It does not tell you anything about who you are. It doesn't tell you what region of the world you're from. It doesn't tell you any of your customs or traditions. We have to separate ourselves from the word black. What are we, as Dr. Williams says? We are ancient African Egyptians. And you have to get that fundamentally into your speak, into your psyche, and into anything that you're going to do. Because as long as we continue to identify ourselves as black, we will not make any progress.
And I want to make this be known that I, as a practitioner myself of African spirituality, in particular the Nikemet or the Kemetic tradition, it was a conglomerate of Africans. So even when we look at Egypt, when we look at Nile Valley culture, because it's not all about Egypt.
But this is the thing you got to understand as well. When you look on the world map and you look throughout history, you do not hear the word Kemet. You don't hear the word Kemet.
Okay.
It is ancient Egypt.
Hold on, brother. But when you're talking about ancient Egypt, you're only referring to an African civilization via European word. So therefore,
no. You're giving the Europeans too much credit, brother.
Listen,
Egypt is not a European word,
brother.
It's
I don't
not.
want to argue
Dr.
with you.
Williams,
I don't want to argue.
Dr. Williams, can you please give clarification on that?
Hold on there, brother. Dr. Williams?
Yeah.
Are you still with us? Okay,
yeah.
You want to shed a little light on this here, man?
Okay, well, let's deal with the word
and I
black.
need some primaries. I need some primaries as well. Some places I can refer back to this information because I'm a teacher. I've learned under we're still learning under Raketi Amen. So please let me know and please be on point, you guys.
Okay,
let's deal with it. We're gonna
hook you up.
Deal with the word black, please.
We're gonna deal with the word black, and we're gonna let me speak now. We can't speak at the same time, but we can sing at the same time.
Yes, sir.
Now, we're gonna deal with the two words, black and Kemet. Okay. Now, black, the name black, the identity of the name black given to an African people that came from the Spanish. That's a nickname. Black is synonymous with Negro. Negro and black is one and the same. Where did those names come from? It came from the Spanish given by way as an identity to the descendants of the ancient Egyptians when the Spanish in 1051 asked our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians who lived along the North African countries along the Mediterranean in the middle of the 11th century to come into Spain and bring civilization to them. Okay? Our ancestors living along the Mediterranean, we're talking about Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, and Mauritania. Now, Morocco was used as a launching country to enter Spain. Why? Because in the country called Morocco, there's a land extension that extends further into the Mediterranean, and that is called the Strait of Gibraltar. When you reach the end of the Strait of Gibraltar, which is in Morocco, you have to travel 8.9 miles by boat to get to Spain. So that's the reason why those North Africans who are descendants of the ancient Egyptians, one and the same, they were asked to come into Spain to bring civilization to them in the middle of the 11th century, 1051 to be exact. Once in Spain, the Spanish people labeled our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians, blackamoors. That's a nickname given to our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians. That's number one, that you need to understand that. Now, we're going to fast forward with that name, blackamoors or Negro, which is one and the same. We're going to come over here, and we're going to come over here after the Spanish Inquisition was created by Ferdinand and Isabella and the Roman Catholic Church, who had allied with the Roman Catholic Church to get rid of these people that we know today as the Moors, who are descendants of the ancient Egyptians, who the Moors were called blackamoors or Negroes by the Spanish. And now Spain and the Vatican, after the Moors had built the Vatican for them, now they want to get rid of them. So let's move up into another spot in history. By use of the Spanish Inquisition and the Roman Inquisition, they ran the Moors out of Spain. The Moors had been in Spain for 427 years. They've been over in the Vatican for 33 years. So here they are coming into America on a ship with Columbus in 1492. See? So now once over in this hemisphere, they began to set up a civilization. The third civilization in the world was set over here by the Moors, by the descendants of the ancient Egyptians. So remember, the name Moor, blackamoor, is a nickname given to the descendants of the ancient Egyptians, and black means Negro synonymously. Okay? Now, so in 1492, to the advent of the coming of slavery in 1619, you're talking about 127 years in there that no one is talking about. Now, I'm going to go and skip over a little bit. Now, the Africans, these Europeans, took out of Africa, they were skilled men. Remember, our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians, did not live in the jungles. They didn't live in caves. They didn't live in huts. They lived in brick buildings. So they were skilled human beings. They were skilled, educated human beings. They were people that had skills and knew how to read and write and spell, arithmetic, etc., because they created all forms of mathematics. Now, when slavery came in 1619, the Europeans took these same Africans who are descendants of the ancient Egyptians, who they had nicknamed Negroes and blacks. Black and Negro, again, is synonymous. So therefore, they took the other indigenous Africans out of Africa as slaves and put this Moor, or the descendants of the ancient Egyptians, under one umbrella and said, now we're going to call them Negroes. That's how black and Negroes got. But if you trace it back by way of history, using the discipline of history, you'll find that black person who called himself black out of ignorance, he don't know any better, because you find it being traced back to be identified as a nickname given to the descendants of the ancient Egyptians by the Spanish-speaking people. And when that happened, when they put all Africans under one umbrella, including the descendants of the ancient Egyptians under the name Moor, they said all these Africans are now Negroes. Now, when they did that, my brother, in 1619, that created a new African without any land identity, just a name, black, Negro. You see, and eventually, as the years came forward, people like Jesse Jackson said, well, told the established white people over here in this hemisphere, we should call ourselves African Americans. So that's the history of how that name Black and Negro came into vogue. Now, let's go into the name Kemet. You have heard me say, do not use the name Kemet, because what you're doing when you use the name Kemet, you are doing a disservice to our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians. The ancient Egyptians is known in today's history and recognized by peoples now of all races, creeds, and colors all over the world as being the one or the group of people that brought forth civilization. Civilization came from Africa, didn't come from India, didn't come from Europe, didn't come from Mexico, didn't come from China. It came out of Africa. Where? From a culture of people that is known in history as the ancient Egyptians. Okay? Now, you said, well, Egypt, the name Egypt is a European name. No. The name Egypt was coined by the ancient Egyptians themselves. Why? Because when Alexander the Greek came into Egypt, and our ancestors, the Melkite Coptic Egyptians who ran the government of ancient Egypt, had to learn the Greek language. Now listen to what I'm saying. They had to learn the Greek language in order to communicate with the Greeks. They had to learn that Greek language. And when they were asked, who are you? They said, we are Egyptians, we are Egyptians. Okay? So don't say that there's a Greek, the Greeks name the country that we know today as Egypt themselves, because you're giving them too much credit. When the Greeks came into Egypt, they had no alphabet, they couldn't read, right? They were illiterate, uncivilized, unhuman savages. Okay? So now, that name Kemet is supposed to mean the land of the blacks, or the black land. So now, fine, I can use that name, Kemet, but now Africa, the country or the continent that we know today as Africa, is a name that was taken from Leo Africanus. So that's a white man's name, Africa. So now, since Kemet means the land of the black, the whole continent of Africa is the land of the black. So name the continent of Africa Kemet instead of Africa. So you have to understand that history. So I ask people, if you're going to continue and insist on using the name Kemet, show me on the world map where I can find Kemet. You can't find it there. I ask them again, what monuments can you show me that came from Kemet? They can't do that. What alphabet came from Kemet? They can't do that. So don't cut your nose off to spite your face. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater and all that other kind of analogies. So that's what I have to say about that. Do not use Kemet, and you can use black, but you have to know the history of that name and where it came from, like I just explained. That's what I have to say.
Okay,
about
well, Dr. Williams, he was also asking for some reference materials where he can verify what you're saying. Could you tell him how to get a hold to your books?
Well, my books are out in the public domain. You can order my two books, The Historical Origin of Christianity, Historical Origin of Islam, from Brother UL, the Underground Bookstore. His phone number is area code 773-768-8869, 768-8869, the Underground Bookstore, which is, we're on the phone right now with the owner, Brother Yoel. Or you can go to any African bookstore in where you live, in the city where you live, and you can order my books. Or you can go to Amazon and order the books from there. Okay? So, but now, a lot of times, you're not going to find the information in books. Okay? You have to use your knowledge of the discipline of history. And with that knowledge of the discipline of history, you have to make deductions. Okay? This is what you had to do. You had to think, okay? Where can I find Kemet on the world map of human geography? I can't find it. Next question you're going to ask yourself. Go ahead.
I'm listening.
Oh, the next question you have to ask yourself, what monument can you or anybody show me that came from Kemet? It's not there, none there. What alphabet was used in Kemet? Can't show me that. But everything points to Egypt, ancient Egypt, not Egypt, because
right.
You had to call yourself an African ancient Egyptian to distinguish yourself from those white Arabs over there in Egypt today who identify themselves as Egyptian. Okay? Our ancestors brought forth civilization for all of humanity, and we need to gravitate to that because that's where our greatness is lying unclaimed in the continent of Africa. While we go out here talking about wrangle, we don't want to call it Egypt, we want to call it Kemet because that's a Greek name. Greeks name that country Egypt. No.
Right.
Remember, when Alexander the Greek came into Egypt, meeting our Melkite Coptic Egyptian ancestors, in order to communicate with the Greeks, they had to learn the Greek language.
Right. And if I could expound just one point, Dr. Williams, if I may. Okay. You have to understand one thing. We are the only people that exist on the planet who identify ourselves as a color. And then when you look at this diaspora, you don't see Asians getting killed in the street on TV. You don't see Mexicans getting killed on the street on TV. You don't see Brazilians or any other type of person getting killed on the streets in America. The only people that you see getting killed in public arenas, videotape, live TV, whatever you want to call it, are the people who identify themselves as black. Okay.
You are absolutely, I agree with you, absolutely. And the reason why we are getting killed by the Europeans, now you listen to what I have to say now.
Yes,
the
sir.
reason why we were put into slavery over in this country, the reason why we were taught away from who we are as an African people, the reason why we were taught away from ancient Egypt, you know why we were put into slavery? We were put into slavery because we are descendants of the ancient Egyptians. That's the reason why we got put into slavery, because the Europeans don't want us to know that history, because then once we claim ourselves as being descendants of the ancient Egyptians, guess what happens to white supremacy? It's over with.
It died.
It's over with. They want to hold on to that. And the way they hold on to that is that they keep ancient Egypt from our thinking. Okay, as a people. They don't want us to get and hook up with ancient Egypt, because they know that once we do that, they have nothing to show the world that of their greatness coming out of Europe.
And the only way that can happen is if we stand on what you just said. We have to stop being black, Negroes, and African Americans. Once we step into the knowledge and actually know within ourselves, we have to connect with land, history, and culture, just like Dr. John Henry Clark said, and like you echo. Once we alert the world that we know, because they know who we are. That's why they're doing what they're doing to us, because they know who we are, and they hide our identity from us by making us identify ourselves with the opposite of who we are. Once we step into the knowledge and into the truth of who we actually are, without firing one shot, without throwing one punch, white supremacy dies.
Okay, now listen to this. What you're saying, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for me to shut it down now.
Yes, sir.
And,
yes, sir.
Appreciate y'all being on. Come to the end of the broadcast. We're out of time, and we're gonna have to continue this at a later date. I certainly appreciate y'all being here. Thank you, Dr. Williams.
I'm going to call back on the next show, Dr. Williams.
Do that, and we'll continue this, okay?
Yes, sir.
Right.
And my name is David Curry. My name is David Curry, sir. I love you, Dr. Williams. I love you, Tarhaka.
Okay, we love you too, my brother.
Good night.
Okay,
yes,
you
sir.
too, my
Good
brother.
night.
We love you.
All right.
Okay, everybody. I hope y'all enjoyed the broadcast. Keep in mind that we will be converting this into a video, and it'll be up on YouTube. I've been your host, Tarhaka Amana El Bay, and until next time, you all have a good evening. Okay? All right. Wonderful, outstanding show.
Hey, everybody, this is Tarhaka again. I would like to introduce you to the Great Debate. We now have copies of the Great Debate. Dr. Walter Williams debates Prince Ezio ben Israel of the Hebrew Israelites. Also, Reverend Henry Hardy of one of the most prominent churches in Chicago, Illinois. Chester Blair, a major attorney in Chicago. And Munir Muhammad of the Nation of Islam. The whole thing is hosted by W.L. Lillard. Dr. Walter Williams debate these men on their belief versus what he knows for a fact and he can prove. Get your copy by going to www.tarhakadebtelimination.org. That's tarhakadebtelimination.org, or you can go to newdataelimination.com. newdataelimination.com. Contact me for your copies. Okay? The Great Debate. You got any questions, just give me a shout. Peace.